Women may not admit it openly, but they never forget the men who leave a deep mark on their emotions. That's what this video is all about. The subtle yet powerful things a man does that stick in a woman's mind long after he's gone. We're going to break down the kind of behaviors, attitudes, and decisions that make a woman remember you, not just as another guy she dated or spoke to, but as the man who changed the way she sees men entirely. Welcome back to the channel. If you're here, it's because you're serious about understanding female psychology on a deeper level. Most men think women are only impressed by money, looks, or grand gestures. But here's the controversial truth. Women are far more haunted by the men who knew how to touch their emotions than the ones who only flashed status or charm. That's why average men often get forgotten, while the men who truly knew how to carry themselves remain unforgettable. This is not about tricks or manipulation. It's about learning what makes a woman's mind replay your presence over and over, even years later. When you understand these things, you stop chasing women and instead become the man who naturally leaves an imprint. And make no mistake, women never forget the men who could shift the balance of power in their own lives. So today, I'm going to teach you exactly what those things are. If you're tired of being the guy women move on from without a second thought, this video will show you how to change that forever. 1. Confidence without neediness. One of the most unforgettable traits a man can display in a woman's eyes is the ability to be confident without being needy. This might sound simple, but very few men actually pull it off. Confidence isn't just standing tall, speaking loudly, or bragging about yourself. Real confidence is a silent strength that shows you are comfortable with who you are, regardless of who accepts or rejects you. Women notice this immediately. In fact, it's often the thing that makes them replay interactions with you long after you're gone. Here's what makes this so powerful. Most men are desperate for approval. They constantly look for signs that a woman likes them, they bend over backward to impress, and they measure their worth based on whether she gives them attention. That energy always betrays them. Neediness is loud, even when you're not saying a word. Women can sense when a man is trying too hard, and the moment they feel that, the respect begins to fade. But when you move differently, when you show interest without attaching your identity to her reaction, that's when you stand out. Imagine being on a date where you're completely relaxed, not trying to prove yourself, not over-explaining your life, just letting things flow naturally. She feels the difference. She realizes that you are a man who has options, a man who doesn't crumble if she pulls away, a man who doesn't beg for validation. That's rare, and rare is unforgettable. The key to this is understanding that your life has value outside of her presence. When you're focused on your mission, your goals, and your growth, your confidence isn't borrowed from anyone. It's self-made. That kind of confidence is magnetic because it communicates that you are whole with or without her. Women don't forget the man who didn't need them to feel important, because deep down, every woman knows how much power she can have over a man's ego. When she meets one who is immune to that, it shocks her. So here's the bottom line. If you want to be unforgettable, stop chasing validation and start living as if you already have everything you need. That doesn't mean ignoring her or acting arrogant. It means standing on your own 2 feet and letting her come into your world, not the other way around. That kind of confidence leaves a mark she will never erase, no matter who comes after you. 2. Walking away with power. One of the most underrated skills a man can have is the ability to walk away when necessary, and do it with power. Women never forget the man who didn't hesitate to remove himself when respect was no longer being given. Most men can't do this. They cling to relationships, they argue endlessly, they beg for another chance, and in doing so, they destroy the very image that might have made them unforgettable. Walking away is not weakness. It is the ultimate demonstration of strength. Think about how most men respond when a woman starts pulling back. They panic. They send more messages. They try harder. They compromise more than they should. The underlying message is clear. I need you more than you need me. That dynamic kills attraction and makes a man completely forgettable. Women have seen this countless times. It doesn't shock them, it doesn't impress them, and it certainly doesn't earn respect. But imagine a different scenario. A man notices her losing interest, disrespecting boundaries, or testing him one too many times. Instead of chasing, he calmly decides, "This doesn't serve me anymore," and steps away without anger, without pleading, without explanation. That single action plants a seed in her mind that never dies. She wonders, why wasn't he afraid to lose me? What does he know about himself that made him so secure? That question alone ensures you live rent-free in her memory. Walking away with power is not about manipulation, it's about self-respect. It's about showing, through action, that your dignity is worth more than temporary attention. A man who understands this truth automatically separates himself from the majority of men, because let's be honest, most men stay far too long in situations where they are undervalued. Women expect it. So when you do the opposite, you become the exception. And here's the twist, when you walk away with strength, it often changes how she sees you. Women respect men who respect themselves. Even if she doesn't chase you immediately, even if she pretends not to care, the memory of you standing firm will stay. Months later, years later, she will still recall the man who didn't crumble when tested. That kind of impression doesn't fade. The secret is this: you don't walk away to make her miss you. You walk away because you truly believe in your worth. That energy can't be faked. If you're bluffing, she'll sense it. But if you're grounded, if you genuinely value your time, energy, and peace more than staying in a broken dynamic, you've already won. She will never forget that moment because deep down, every woman knows how rare it is to find a man who chooses self-respect over attachment. Walking away with power is not the end, it's the beginning of becoming unforgettable. 3. Emotional control. If there's one thing that separates forgettable men from the ones women never stop thinking about, it's emotional control. Women will never admit this openly, but they constantly test men to see how much power they have over their emotions. And most men fail that test without even realizing it. They get jealous too quickly. They argue over small things. They blow up when they feel ignored, or they collapse emotionally when she pulls away. That kind of reaction tells her everything she needs to know. You're not in control of yourself, and therefore she can control you. Nothing makes a man more forgettable than being easy to push around emotionally. Now think about the man who handles himself differently. A woman tries to provoke him, maybe with a sarcastic comment, or she ignores his text for a day. Instead of panicking, he stays calm. Instead of sending emotional paragraphs or demanding answers, he carries on with his life as if nothing happened. That calm presence shakes her more than any angry outburst could. Why? Because it shows her she doesn't control his state of mind. And that, to a woman, is both frustrating and deeply attractive. Here's the reality. Women respect men who master their emotions because it signals strength. Life is full of challenges, relationships are full of ups and downs, and a woman wants to know if you can handle the storm. If you fall under pressure, she loses faith in you. But if you stay centered, if you can feel emotions without being ruled by them, you become the man who stands out in her memory. She will compare every guy after you to the man who could not be shaken. Emotional control doesn't mean being cold or robotic. It means you know how to respond rather than react. It means you understand the difference between acknowledging your feelings and letting those feelings dictate your behavior. For example, if she tests you by pulling back, you don't lash out or beg for attention. You give her space and continue focusing on yourself. If she challenges you in a conversation, you don't get defensive. You respond with clarity and calm authority. These moments leave lasting impressions because they reveal character, not just surface-level confidence. Most men think women remember grand gestures, but more often they remember how you made them feel in difficult moments. Did you crumble? Did you explode? Or did you show patience, discipline, and self-respect? That answer determines whether you are forgotten in weeks or remembered for years. So if you want to be unforgettable, start here. Train yourself to be steady no matter what comes your way. Build discipline in your life, learn to pause before reacting, and focus on keeping your frame in all situations. When you master your emotions, you master your presence. And once a woman sees that, she never forgets you. 4. Mystery that keeps her guessing. One of the biggest mistakes men make in relationships is thinking that giving a woman total access to their thoughts, emotions, and routines will make her feel secure and love them more. The truth is, women may say they want full transparency, but what keeps their attraction alive and what makes them never forget you is the element of mystery. A man who leaves her guessing, who reveals himself slowly and selectively, always lingers in her mind far longer than the man who puts his entire life on the table from day one. Let's use an example. Imagine a man in a long-term relationship who tells his girlfriend every detail of his day, every single thought he has, every insecurity he feels. At first, she might appreciate the openness, but over time, she starts to feel like she knows him too well. There's nothing left to discover. He becomes predictable, and predictability kills excitement. Compare that to another man who shares, but not everything. He talks about his goals, but he doesn't reveal every step of his plan. He goes out with friends or works late on projects without always explaining every detail. He shows affection, but he doesn't constantly reassure her to the point of suffocation. That man keeps her mind active because she's always trying to figure him out. Here's the psychological truth. Women are wired to be curious about the men they admire. The less they can fully pin you down, the more you occupy their thoughts. This doesn't mean playing games or being secretive in a toxic way. It means carrying yourself in a way that suggests depth, layers that she hasn't yet uncovered. When she knows there's always more to learn about you, she doesn't get bored and she doesn't forget you. Think about it. The relationships that fade quickly are the ones where the man became too available, too explainable, too ordinary. The relationships that stick in her mind are the ones where she kept wondering, what's he thinking? What's driving him? Why does he move that way? That wondering is what makes you unforgettable. The man who maintains mystery does so by focusing on his own life. He invests in hobbies, builds his career, spends time with people outside of her, and pursues goals that don't revolve around her approval. When she sees you doing this, she realizes you're not a finished book she can read in one sitting. You're a story that unfolds chapter by chapter. And that story stays in her mind even if she walks away. So remember this, mystery doesn't push women away, it pulls them closer. A man who keeps her guessing in healthy ways ensures she never feels like she fully owns his mind, and because of that, she never forgets him. 5. Making her earn your attention. One of the biggest reasons women forget men so quickly is because most men hand over their attention for free. They text her all day, like every pose, laugh at every joke, and constantly look for ways to show they're available. At first, she might enjoy the validation, but the more freely you give your attention, the less she values it. It's like anything in life. If it's too easy to get, it stops being special. And that's the first mistake most men make. Let's look at the wrongs. A man who answers her texts instantly, no matter how busy he is, communicates that he has nothing more important than her. A man who cancels plans with his friends or skips his goals just to be with her tells her that his life revolves around her approval. A man who constantly tells her how amazing she is without balance eventually sounds like background noise. These behaviors don't make her appreciate you. They make her feel like you're chasing her, and chasing kills attraction. Now, here's the right way. You need to make her earn your attention. That doesn't mean being rude, ignoring her, or playing games. It means valuing yourself enough to recognize that your time and focus are precious. For example, if she disrespects you, you don't keep rewarding her with compliments or endless communication. You tell her directly, I don't entertain disrespect. If you want my time, it has to be mutual. If she's been distant and expects you to still chase her, you calmly pull back and let her feel your absence. If she's testing you, instead of getting defensive, you say, I don't play those games. If you want me, come correct. These statements aren't aggressive. They're boundaries. They show her that your attention is not cheap and it can't be bought with looks alone. And here's the key. Women remember the man who made them earn his presence because that man stood out from the endless line of guys who threw themselves at her feet. Think about it. When a woman knows she has your attention no matter what she does, she takes it for granted. But when she realizes she has to show respect, effort, and consistency to keep your attention, she never forgets you. That memory stays because it's rare. Very few men have the discipline to give attention wisely. So if you want to be unforgettable, stop pouring into women who don't pour back. Start communicating through both words and actions that your attention is valuable. Let her know, I enjoy giving you my time, but only if it feels mutual. That balance changes everything. Women never forget the man who valued himself enough to make her earn his attention. 6. Living with purpose. There's one thing women never forget about a man, and that's whether or not he lived with purpose. A man without direction is like a ship without a captain. He drifts, he waits for someone else to decide where he goes, and he ends up in places he never wanted to be. Women might enjoy him for a short while, but they don't respect him, and they certainly don't remember him once he's gone. But a man with purpose, that man sticks in her memory forever. Living with purpose doesn't mean you have to be rich, famous, or at the top of your career. It means you know who you are, where you're going, and what you're building. It means your life has direction beyond chasing women or trying to impress them. Women find this magnetic because it's rare. Most men get distracted by attention, entertainment, or laziness. But the man who is deeply connected to his mission, whether it's building a business, mastering his craft, or improving himself every day, stands out as someone she can't control. She knows she's not the center of his world, and that makes him unforgettable. Let's make this practical. Imagine two men. The first spends most of his time waiting for texts, scrolling social media, and living weekend to weekend without a bigger vision. The second wakes up early, trains his body, studies his craft, and puts his energy into building something meaningful. When a woman interacts with both, she'll enjoy the first man's attention, but she'll respect and remember the second. The difference isn't money, it's purpose. The second man has direction, and that direction is what burns his image into her memory. The beauty of living with purpose is that it naturally changes how you carry yourself. You don't have time for drama because you're busy. You don't get desperate for attention because your mission already fulfills you. You don't chase women because your purpose is bigger than temporary validation. And when a woman senses this, she sees a man who can't be easily replaced. She knows that even if she leaves, you'll keep moving forward. And that idea makes you unforgettable. Living with purpose also changes how you interact with her directly. Instead of saying, "What do you want to do tonight?" every time you might say, "I've got things to finish, but I can meet you at 8. Instead of letting her decisions dictate your life, you lead with your vision, and she has the choice to follow. That leadership leaves a lasting impression because it shows her you're a man who doesn't just exist, you create direction. Purpose is what makes you stand out in a world full of men who blend together. And when you live with it, women never forget you. Not because you tried to impress them, but because your very life impressed itself onto their memory. 7. Respecting yourself. First, the last and perhaps most important thing women never forget is the man who respected himself first. Too many men flip this around. They put the woman on a pedestal, treat her like a queen while treating themselves like peasants, and then wonder why she loses interest. Respect is not something you beg for, it's something you set by example. And if you don't respect yourself, no woman ever will. Think about how many men bend their boundaries just to keep a woman happy. She cancels last minute and he says, "It's fine." She disrespects him in front of others and he laughs it off. She withholds affection and instead of addressing it, he doubles down on trying to please her. Every one of those actions communicates the same message. My respect doesn't matter. Yours does. And when a man lives like that, he becomes forgettable. Why? Because he didn't stand for anything. Now imagine a different type of man. When a woman disrespects his time, he calmly says, "My time is valuable, don't waste it." When she crosses a line, he doesn't argue or explode. He simply states, "I don't accept that. If it continues, I'm gone." When she plays games, he doesn't chase. He steps back and lets her decide if she wants to come correct. That kind of man commands respect. Not because he demanded it, but because he lived it. And that is unforgettable. Self-respect is not about arrogance, It's not about acting like you're better than her. It's about showing that you honor your own standards enough to walk away from anyone who doesn't align with them. A man who respects himself doesn't have to raise his voice, he doesn't have to prove his worth, his actions speak for him, and women, whether they like it or not, always remember that man. Here's the truth: respect creates attraction, but more importantly, it creates memory. A woman may forget the man who gave her endless compliments, but she won't forget the man who looked her in the eye and said, "I don't accept disrespect." She may forget the man who begged for her time, but she won't forget the one who said, "I've got things to do. If you want to be part of my life, match my energy." Those moments burn into her memory because they're rare. Most men don't have the courage to live like that. When you respect yourself first, you send a powerful message. Your value doesn't depend on her approval. And women deep down never forget the man who showed them that kind of strength. Because while looks fade, money changes, and situations shift, self-respect never loses its power. It's the foundation of being unforgettable. At the end of the day, women never forget the man who carried himself with confidence, walked away with power, controlled his emotions, kept a sense of mystery, made her earn his attention, lived with purpose, and above all, respected himself first. These aren't tricks, they're standards. Most men fade from memory because they gave too much, chased too hard, or forgot their own value. But when you embody these principles, you stand apart. You become the man she compares every other to, the man she remembers long after you're gone. That's the power of mastering yourself first.